Hello, everyone. I am Skylar Wilson and co-founder of the Order of the Sacred Earth, along with Matthew Fox and Jennifer Listug. And unfortunately, Matthew is sick today, and so he sends his apologies and can't make it. And Mariko had an emergency with work that she had to attend to, and she's in California right now. So she sort of a kerfluffle with the time change. So it's just me with all of you all. But part of what makes these meetings special is the contact with community and the emergent element of this of whoever shows up is who's here, and that we'll take time to drop into what's present for each of us, but also to drop into some particular themes that hopefully are relevant to you all and to the Order of the Sacred Earth. So happy equinox. Let's see, I'm still getting some belated equinox. And for me, it feels like a time of finding the balance between dark and light, between the what feels like chaos in our world, and also to find a place of stillness within ourselves. And so I'd like to ask the group if there's anyone who feels like they want to do an invocation or say something briefly to land us in ourselves in this moment. And if not, I'll do it. But I'd like to ask all of you if anyone's feeling particularly called. All right, if no one feels called, then I will just invite everyone to, you can close your eyes if that's comfortable for you, or leave them open, but just find your feet on the ground, find your breath, and just take a few deeper breaths, just feeling the web of connection with the earth, with ourselves, and each other. And feeling the breath and feeling our hearts and the stillness of being anchored in the earth, in life. And whenever you're ready, you can slowly open your eyes and be here. And so along with the equinox, it feels like it's important to presence, and not overly so, but just all the conflict that's happening on the planet right now with Ukraine and Russia, obviously, but also in other parts of the world and in our own lives. And so just taking a moment to send some acceptance and some love to the violence that's present in all of its faces in the human world, and sending love to all parts. And now just sending the intention for humanity and for the earth to come into resonance with one another, in a way where all beings can be free and can be themselves. And so it's in this spirit that I invite all of you to share, and the agreements that we have in these councils, which we've been doing for about 4 or 5 years now, are to speak from the heart and to be direct with your communication, and to not go on and on, but to speak to what's present for you, and to if you have a pod or any updates in the work that you're doing, feel free to share. Also to listen from the heart, to be spontaneous. So those are the agreements, and I'll moderate, but I prefer to go popcorn style because it allows those who feel called to speak in the moment. And there's also the question that was brought up by one of our members recently about the vow to be the best lover and defender of the earth that we can be, and about the word defender versus protector, or versus another word. And so I just wanted to give a little background. We chose defender because we felt like there's a warrior element to an order, and to those of us who are journeying to feel and to be a part of the great turning that's taking place and that needs to take place on the earth, within humanity, and that there's an element of needing to protect or defend what's being attacked. And I also know that there's a lot of shadow that has to do with the archetype of the aggressor, especially now with Russia invading Ukraine. And but it's always been the case that there's been aggressors, and so to defend against something, I don't necessarily personally feel that it needs to be an us versus them thing, but defending against the places where those who are oppressed, or including the planet, the earth herself, it showing up for what we feel is needed for those to have a voice, or for the planet to be able to continue to live, for ecosystems to thrive. And there are things that are happening on the planet that diminish that. So but that's just wanted to open that up as a possibility for you to share on that point, for how you interpret the vow, how you interpret committing to both loving and protecting or defending something. So with that, I open the council, and I'm grateful to see a lot of old faces, and some new ones as well. So if you could start by saying your name and where you are in the world, and then share for 2 or 3 minutes. And then if we have more time, we'll come back around, and you can have a chance to share more. So the floor is open. And there's no need to speak to everything. You can just speak to what's true for you.
I'm Bob O'Brien, first time here. Live in Port Washington, member of the Order of St. Luke, and just seeing what this is about, and it calls to me. You guys call to me. Yeah.
Thanks for checking us out.
Can I ask what state Fort Washington is in?
Oh, New York. It's about 10 miles east of LaGuardia Airport, up on the Long Island Sound.
Welcome.
New York. Sorry.
It's trouble getting, I have a lot of trouble getting him to give a one word answer to a simple question. So don't feel bad, Joe.
Yeah, I'm Irish. What can I tell you?
He likes to tell stories.
And I'm from Brooklyn, so, okay.
Hi, I'm Dolores, also here for the first time, just seeing what it's all about.
I could jump in. I'm another new person. My name is Susan Jeffs, and I am with the All Souls Gathering Place in Shelburne, Vermont. And so some of you probably know Kim Marie and maybe Don. And so we meet once a month and we focus on ritual as well as a project. And right now the project is a pollinator garden that's in the design and planning design stages and proposal stages. Used to go to the board of All Souls. So that's really exciting. And we're hoping to get more people involved. We had a group of 30 or so when we were meeting outside last summer and fall, and now it's down to maybe 8 or so. And so we're in place of regrouping and, trying to decide and to get more input and decide how to shape the meetings as we go forward and get more people back involved.
I'm happy to go. I'm Steve English from Charlotte, North Carolina. And I was introduced to this. This is my first time also, but I know Skylar from Ceremonies up in the mountains. And he gave me a copy of the book about the Order of the Sacred Earth with Matthew and Jennifer and Skylar. And I was very turned on by that. It seems to bring everything that I care about into a sacred container. And so I'm really excited to be on this call. And in addressing the defend or protect universe, I'm reminded of the words of Joanna Macy, where she talks about block, build, and be. To block the bad stuff, stop trashing the planet and dumping garbage and plastics into the ocean and burning way too much fossil fuels. So I work in that realm with 350.org and Rainforest Action Network and Pachamama Alliance and many others. That also building the new world, building the more beautiful world. And so I work a lot with ceremony, with various Native American processes, with Inipis, sweat lodges, also with plant medicine and earth medicines. And I find that has been the most powerful connector for me, connector to all of life and to other humans, but also to the great sacred mystery. And so maybe that's the B, but building the new world is how we show up in the world. And so what I do with organic gardens and sharing ceremony is the fundamental way that I'm showing up at this point in time, as I'm retired and can dedicate my life to doing everything I can so that my grandchildren will have a livable planet in their lifetimes. That's me.
Good to see you, Steve. Thanks for joining,
You bet, Skylar. Good to see you.
sharing your full self.
I'm Maureen Bausch, and I get to live in the middle of a field just outside of Lincoln, Nebraska. And so I'm here with my little animals and my chickens and my neighbor's horses. And I'm eager and trying to figure out how to put a pollinator garden along the sides of my driveway. I've had some USDA people come out and try to help me figure that out. And I belong to Nebraska Interfaith Power and Light, and I've been retired from chaplaincy for 5 years. And I also belong to a group called Elders for the Earth, and I just completed a 6 weeks course with Ellen from Israel on Joanna Macy. So I'm just pulling all these things together and seriously seeking a direction. And I get to live in 20 acres where I've got gardens and pasture land and a number of really awesome people who come here and care for the gardens and care for their horses, and we all care for each other. So anyway, I appreciate being here with all of you because it's just wonderful to hear your stories and to really know that our planet is being taken care of.
So MK Bausch. First, I'm Anita Manuel, and I've been around for a while. And I live in the mountains, the old mountains of the Appalachians in Abingdon, Virginia, way out in Southwest Virginia. And, you know, I'm at a place that I'm asking a lot of questions about why don't I know more people, and you know, what is keeping me in a container. I don't have the options of just running out and meeting with and being with a lot of people anymore. They'd have to come to me. I said MK Bausch because I have a niece who is in Lincoln, Nebraska, who has just been told that her lease will not be renewed. And, you know, when I talked to her 3 or 4 days ago, the question was, do you have any place to go? So if you would be willing to enter into or be a resource in any way, you know, enter into our family stuff and things that are going on in Lincoln, maybe you could, you know, let me know that, and we could figure out, I could put it in the chat, how to get in touch with me. If we have a chat. So I have a lot of questions. I'm going to report, I didn't tell Jesse I was going to do this, but Jesse has been coming on a regular basis, and I have been. And he's actually in California, but we have very regular talks. And he was going to ask for a block of time tonight to see if he could get a discussion going about some of the questions that have been coming up in our talking. And couldn't get a hold of Mariko, and then did at the last minute. Mariko said she's not going to be here, and he said he's not going to be here because he has a work meeting. So none of that was happening tonight. So I don't know why I'm here. You know, I kind of do things with the sense that I have a calling of some kind to do that. I'm here because I'm called to do here, and I'm here to discover what that is. So that's my presence tonight.
Thank you, Anita. And if there's time at the end, which I think there will be, feel free to bring up the discussion point and we can bring it into the council.
What discussion point?
If you know of what, like what you and Jesse were talking about, and you said that Jesse was more along the lines of leading it, but if you want to bring up.
No, he wanted, this was like his thing to lead.
Okay, then maybe next time.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, Maureen.
I'm Margaret. I've listened in. I think this is the third meeting that I've listened in. I live in West Virginia. I was interested that Anita is in Abingdon, Virginia. My parents-in-law live in Abingdon, Virginia. And I said when I went on the first meeting, I believe it was in January, that I'm without a church currently. I am watching who comes here and seeing how people create pods, just trying to learn what you all have been doing. And then I have a son who lives in St. Louis. And on one of these monthly meetings, there were 2 women from St. Louis, and I didn't get a chance to say anything while they were on there. But one of them said, we have to do some more whatever. So I was hoping that as these meetings go on, if anybody knows the 2 women who live in St. Louis, then I might get their names written down. I live in a county that's referred to as the birthplace of rivers. So I consider myself a water protector. We have lots of opportunities for potential pipelines, and so far we've been able to both protect and defend that our waterways. So that's been a good thing, and it definitely did take protecting and defending. So I think both words are good. I'm a big fan of Joanna Macy, so I like hearing those references to her. Anyway, so I appreciate the opportunity to be here and learn more, and that's all.
Yeah, and Margaret, I can't promise that we can make the connection, but if you email us, there's a chance that we might be able to that we might have their contact in our pod listserv. So
Okay.
Order of the Sacred Earth at Gmail, which I can put into the chat.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Well, I could go next. My name is Crystal Parks, and I live in the unceded territory of the Arapaho and Cheyenne, also known as Denver, Colorado. And my passion is to be a voice for the voiceless ones. That's the 4-legged, the finned, the feathered, the creepy crawlers, and the rooted ones who have no voice or seat at the table of those deciding their fate. And so I do talking and writing, and I teach kids about loving the earth. And I wanted to ask you, Skylar, if on the vow, both words could be used, protect and defend, and then we'd have the best of both of those.
Yeah, I don't see why not. And the vow that we sort of laid out as a template is meant to be transformed into what works for each individual person. So it doesn't have to be the same across the board by any means. So there's room for interpretation, and I think protect and defend are similar words, but different enough to both be included. Yeah. And also, if it's one's calling to not be so much a defender and to show up just as a lover, that's okay too. Yeah.
So this is Will. I spent a week on Line 3 in Minnesota in October, and I lead an interfaith council in Contra Costa. Good to see you from the other side of the country. You led some retreats for us, Skylar, so glad that we're staying in connection and staying in touch. I think there's something really magical and purposeful and needed going on with the land protectors, the water protectors that are still there at Camp McGeezy near Duluth in Minnesota, but there's also a group that are expanding, and they know that Enbridge is coming after Line 5. They've been trying to get Governor Megan Whitmer fired for some time in Michigan. And they've been going after her because she's against an expansion of Line 5. And most of that would go through her state, and it's really not even needed. In fact, a lot of these infrastructure deals are being done now to try to protect their access to their markets for the future, thinking that if they build now, they'll be able to keep these markets for 40 or 50 years, even though there's not going to be a market for fossil fuels once the bottom drops out. So it's kind of a waste, but it is having real impacts on rural parts of Minnesota and Wisconsin and Michigan and a lot of these other places where these pipelines are being proposed and being pushed through, even without EPA requirements. It's a travesty of law what happened in Minnesota, and they trampled not only over the state's Division of Natural Resources, but over treaties that went back to 1853 and 1855 and 1864, individual treaties with the White Earth Band and the Red Lake Band, and different parts of the Ojibwe Nation have different treaties. And I think we need to learn more from our Native siblings who are using the law in a specific way and pointing out how our government has really trampled all over, not just their rights. And I think it's important for us to understand the arguments that they're making aren't a part of the liberal, individualistic Western legal tradition. It's about protecting communities and communities of people and their collective rights to be able to hunt and fish and live the ways that they agreed based on those treaties in 1853, 1855, 1864, and so many of them that it's hard to even keep track. But they really are different in the Midwest than a lot of the nations here in California never got treaties. Most of them are not federally recognized because they'd have to give back multi-million-dollar areas of the Bay Area to the most abused people here, speaking myself on Patwin land, but very much so on Ohlone land and Ramaytush land and in San Francisco and other places, coastal Miwok and Marin, Bay Miwok and other parts of Contra Costa County. So their sacred spaces have been taken and electrical and communications material put on the top of Tuyushtak, what the colonizers continue to call Mount D, despite Native American people asking that those things not be put on their sacred lands. And I think we need to think differently. And if there's a way for us to spend some time in these camps, they are democracy incubators. They're the closest thing I've ever experienced to understand what real honoring of each other as individuals and of our collective identities means lived out in a lived out way. And if you have a chance to spend even a few days with Native Americans in some of these encampments, as they're trying to protect themselves, not only from Line 3, but there's a group trying to protect some elders outside of Winnemucca, whose land, whose homes that they've been kind of pushed into as last resorts are also being taken away because the big mining companies want to come in and even a good thing like getting enough lithium for more car batteries is stealing Native Americans' treaty rights and their ability to be able to make a living and a life for themselves between Nevada and Oregon. And I think we need to go be with them in order to learn what being human is all about. We need to learn a new way of being human. And it's the only place that I've seen that it's being taught are in these encampments that are matriarchal and run by the aunties and the women leaders in the areas. There are ceremonies, there are sweat lodges, there are other rituals that we can be that we can learn their ways within and not try to take over or control in any ways. But if we can learn some of the lessons, we might be able to find a new way of living that would help humanity survive the coming changes and transformations that I'm afraid are most of us aren't going to be ready to be able to transition through.
I've come in late, and so I don't know if others have already spoken or not, but I'll wait my turn. Unless.
Carol, feel free to go. Yeah, we're just taking a few minutes each to say your name, where you're located, and anything that you feel is pertinent to your work with the sacred earth in general, but also with this focus being on defending and protecting and what that means to you with the earth. That's kind of been a question that's come up. So it doesn't have to be that, but that's one prompt. So
That works beautifully. First, thank you to the activists for their work. My activism is in a different nature, but I'm deeply grateful for those stories. So my excitement of coming today is I am preparing a second recording for my denomination, the United Church of Canada. So I'm from Toronto, formerly known as Toronto, and a book that I wrote and Matthew endorsed called Evolutionary Dancer, Out in and on the Fringe of the Church, has somehow made way for me to step back into ministry that I left a couple of decades ago, and to offer creation spirituality within the context of the evolutionary story. And I'm very grateful and moved by this opportunity. The understanding of defend and protect in my denomination still is about, comes under social justice. So my great hope is to broaden the understanding, broaden the cosmology, deepen the spirituality and our understanding of the cosmic Christ in this context of death and grieving that we live in. And one of the things that's been so helpful, so thank you, Skylar and Matthew, for your book and this incredible vow. Just go and be the best defenders, lovers and defenders of the earth that you can be. It touches people so quickly, so easily. Your use of words in that way has been very powerful. So what I wanted to say was that I haven't worked to create a pod, but I do bring your work into my circles, and it's inspiring, and it's also an example of something that Darwin said long ago. I tell him, he says, geology, bringing into play by every possible change of climate and death of pre-existing inhabitants, brings endless variations of new conditions. And we are one of those variations, one of those new conditions arising for these times. And it's just quite a brilliant breaking through of so many structures that contained religious spirituality, environmentalism, and so on. So those are the things I wanted to say. Thank you. Oh, one more thing. So I'm moving towards Earth Day in these recordings with my denomination. And Earth Day has another word to add to this conversation tonight, invest. Earth Day's theme this year is invest in the earth. So it takes it one step further. And I'm using a new ritual. My passion is creating evolutionary rituals for folks in, out, and on the fringe of the church. And I'm using the 4 paths, 4 seasons, and as a way not of celebrating Earth Day this year, but of going through the saying yes to life, the grieving, the loss of life, embracing our own creativity, and moving out in compassion for transformation. And if anyone would like to know more about that ritual, that's my name, and you can find it on the website and so on. So, thank you.
Thanks, Carol.
Oh.
And if you want to put it into the chat, if there's a link, that might be an easier way for people to do that directly. I know you're knitting.
I'm
but-
knitting.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, I'm Joe, and I'm saying hello here from Phoenixville, Pennsylvania. I joined back in December, and since then, I'm very grateful and excited to report I have learned an immense amount, largely about native gardening and how much difference we can make in our own backyards through the choices of native plants and keystone species. I have to thank Dr. Doug Talami for a lot of my information, but my domestic partner and I are all excited. And I want to actually go show you all my babies. That is all the seedlings that have sprouted in my little indoor greenhouse, ready to wait for the change of the weather. I've also been really excited to realize how much, how easy it is to save plastic and paper through little changes in lifestyle. And I confess, I have a big confession to make. I'm really excited about the gas prices going way up. It means everyone's going to conserve, which is so wonderful and so absolutely horrible for me to say, but it's wonderful too. I'm grateful, and I've also found avenues in the local green team and in our local church to share this information. So I'm really excited, and it gives me joy to just to see all of you. One of the greatest things I've learned is that I'm not alone. There's so many people, and growing every day are the people who are realizing the difference it takes. I'm a big fan of J.R.R. Tolkien, and I want to share with you, I think we probably all know who Gandalf is. There's a favorite quote of mine in The Lord of the Rings. Gandalf said, "I shall not have wholly failed of my task. If anything passes through this night that can grow flower and bear fruit in days to come."
Joe, I totally agree with you about the gas prices. For decades, I've been saying the only thing that's going to solve this fossil fuel is to make the gas prices very, very high. But in our suburban community, you would be lynched for saying that out loud. Even the most liberal Democrats, our local team, are pushing for tax subsidies so that, we wouldn't have to pay. So thank you for saying that. I felt like a voice in the wilderness all these years.
Some people are truly hard-shipped, and my heart goes out to them.
That's true. But we won't go down the path of we need more public transportation. That's another thing that's like a voice in the wilderness. But Bob and I have both worked really hard on that area. And I do want to add, neither of us said a lot about what we've been active in. I specifically was on the board of a group called Residents for Your Beautiful Port Washington, which is devoted to conservationist and beautification. We are fortunate to live, even though it is a typical suburban community, in a place that is environmentally conscious, at least. But even here, we got our issues with zoning codes. They're starting to leave us with natural gardens a little bit alone. There was a time when you got a ticket if you didn't have a manicured lawn. Oh yeah. Oh yeah, it's on the books. Grass can't be more than 2 inches high. We actually did get a ticket.
Yeah, odds of 6.
And I said to my lawyer, I got a ticket for grass. He said, "You smoke?" I said, "No, I'm talking grass."
green grass.
Yeah, right.
So where I am, the ordinances date back to 1980, and I just consider them really out of date. They do allow the grass to get as long as 10 inches high. But if they come and cite you, there's a $250 a day fine. And if they come in and you won't mow it, and they come in and mow it, then they can put a lien on your house. So it is even worse in other places.
I would just like to add just three quick things. Perhaps everybody might be able to use them as tools. Over 30 years ago, I looked at the way we make decisions and abundance. And if we made right decisions, there's abundance for everything, for everyone on the entire planet. So it becomes decision guidance in my head. Second thing is a quote from Teilhard de Chardin, a Jesuit mystic who died in around 1955 or something like that. His bottom line, it's very difficult to read him, but his bottom line is very easy. When we discover the true meaning of love, it will be like discovering fire for the second time. Okay, so that's the power of love, real power. And the third one is that the amount of energy that's available in the universe is available to all of us. As healers and as a computer scientist, I've seen that the energy just flows and it's available for all of us. What that means is that with human qualities like intentionality, love, and anticipation, and some of those level of things, that's the way that this energy can be directed. So these are just working tools that can work into any program, from turning the pots that you have, Joe, to get a little bit more sun, or putting lights off on a regular, whatever, to getting a group to march on Washington and say, look, come on, guys, let's fix it. Anyway, that's it. Yeah.
Hi, I'm Claire. I'm from the LA area, and I've been meaning to attend one of these for 9 or 10 months and finally got around to it. Don't really have much to say. I just wanted to introduce myself real quick.
Nice to see you, Claire. And I'm just curious if you do want to share, how did you find out about us and what was your draw? And if you don't feel like answering, I don't want to put you on the spot, but I kind of did, I guess, but I'm curious.
That's fine. About 9 or 10 months ago, I came across something on Amazon that listed like different versions of the Golden Rule, and like the last thing was Sacred Earth. So I Googled it and I found it all very interesting. And so since then, I've been meaning to attend to find out more, and just got around to it now.
Thank you. Tom, I see you there. Do you want to give an update from your from the conservation biologist around the world that you represent a voice for? You're on mute.
Think we've got technical difficulties.
Yeah, we can't hear you, Tom.
He could send us a chat.
Yeah.
How about now?
Good.
Oh, I heard that, but there, it seems like there's a delay. Well,
So
feel
who-
free to put anything in the chat if
Let me
you.
see if you can hear me.
Oh,
I have
I can't-
trouble with this here.
Yeah, it's hard to hear you. It's like condensing the audio. So.
My husband and I, Bill and I, live in Wauwatosa, Wisconsin. Wauwatosa is the
How
name of
about now?
a Native American chief. But the closest we have.
I'm
to
sorry. I lost all the-
Excuse me, is someone else speaking?
No, I think there's a lag in what Tom is saying, so it's coming through after he's saying it, so it's interrupting you. But continue.
Okay.
Yes.
The closest we have to a pod that we participate in is a group called Wisconsinites for Environmental Justice. And we were started with one mission and one goal in mind, and that is to sue the fossil fuel companies that operate here in Wisconsin, and to use whatever money we would get from that lawsuit to remedy and to clean up the mess that they have made. One of the big issues with the Native Americans is this pipeline. I believe it's the same one that someone else was speaking about. Maybe it was Will, pipeline number 5. It needs to be redone or rerouted because the Native Americans have explained that their reservation had a pipeline going through it, and they objected to that, and the company agreed to move it. But in moving it to another location, it was going to take a longer route on its way to Michigan, and it would damage many, many wetlands and rivers and so forth. But our group is, our main goal, of course, is to bring about this lawsuit and to get our Attorney General to do the lawsuit, the Attorney General for the state of Wisconsin. And however, he is running for office, and so is our governor. And we're very much afraid that they won't win if we don't work hard on their campaigns. And so there's a tremendous delay in this because they have other things on their plate, both the governor and the Attorney General. So we don't think that if we ever get a lawsuit up and running, it won't be until after the election in November. But we've been working on this for a year and a half so far.
Beautiful work.
Yeah, thank you for your work. And it does sometimes take a long time, especially the political process of elections and litigation. But we need people like you who can withstand that and be patient. Well, does anyone else want to share before we close? Tom, I don't know. I don't think it was working. I think there's a lag in what your internet connection, unfortunately.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah, can hear you. It's a little bit spotty.
Anita can. Yeah, I'm keep getting a message that we have a weak connection here, and I've had that for the months I'm doing this.
Tom, it might work better if you turn your video off and we just hear your audio, because then it'll have enough bandwidth for your audio.
Good idea.
Okay. Let me just try it here. One of the problems, folks, is I'm dealing with a year-old computer that really was never set up to handle Zoom. Did you hear that?
Yes.
Somebody heard it?
It still sounds about the same, but keep talking.
You want me to keep talking?
Yeah, it sounds better.
All right, I'll keep talking until better.
Yeah.
Yes.
I apologize. I know there's a lot of work to be done here. Just to introduce myself to a couple of you. Oh, Joe, I see you down there. A couple of you who don't know me, I'm a conservationist. I have been for all of my life working with threatened and endangered species, and that they need to continue. I also do other things. Currently, the poetry for Rapid Art and Culture magazine here in 30 miles from where Tyler and his wife and who are now living in the Appalachian Mountains on the Blue Ridge. Do some contributions for green aesthetics and in green theology. If this is getting through, I am looking for poets to address green issues for our journal. Skylar can post my email, and people who've not published poetry before, people who can address hard issues in very, very few words. Skylar, are you able to, if you're able to get any, that's my email there, and have these folks contact me. They also understand I do edit everything that comes into the magazine, to the journal. I'd love to get things from you folks, especially from you folks.
Yeah, thank you, Tom. The sound is still not good. So I caught about every other word of that. But what I heard was that you're inviting people, to poets especially, to write in succinct words about different ecological situations.
Earth-centered poetry, short, tight, to the point. If Skylar will give you my email, I'll just get in touch with me and we can chat.
Yeah, your email is
Again,
your email is hiddensprings2@gmail, right?
hiddensprings2@gmail.com.
Okay.
And anything else you want to talk about. Joe and I talk about green living, green gardening, nature gardens. We have a wonderful time.
Thank you, Tom. I'm putting it in right now.
Thanks, Skylar. And again, I apologize, folks.
Thank you, Tom. I appreciate that. I'm a poet, and I pretty much, whatever I write about, it has trees and rivers and mountains in it. So I love learning about things like that.
Bonnie, get in touch with me and I'll tell you what we're looking for over the next 2 years. I've agreed to edit for this journal for 2 years. It's published in Asheville. Actually, it's published right pretty close to where Skylar and his family are.
Beautiful. Thanks, Tom. What's the name of the journal again? I'll put that in.
Rapid River, Arts and Culture.
Rapid River, Arts and Culture.
When you go into town, Skylar, go down to the bookstore in the middle of town, and they'll have a copy of it. They'll have a number of copies there.
Cool. I'll check it out. Thank you, Tom.
You bet.
And we should send you a new computer.
Yeah.
Well, one of these days, I'm going to have to kick loose of some of this hash and purchase a computer I've been looking at, but it just hasn't happened yet.
No worries. Well, thank you. Well, we've got time. I think it's about time to close. We try to keep these. Sorry, I muted myself. We try to keep these calls to an hour to respect everyone's time. But is there anyone who feels like a closing prayer, who feels called to close our group today and to in a good way?
I could close with the wonderful words of Adrienne Rich, Skylar. I'll say them once and maybe we can say them a second time, just line by line, and embody them. But we gather together sharing her sentiments. My heart is moved by all I cannot save. So much has been destroyed. I must cast my lot with those who, age after age, perversely, with no extraordinary powers, reconstitute the earth. Let it be so. My heart is moved, and you can say it for yourself if you like. My heart is moved by all I cannot save. So much has been destroyed.
So much has been destroyed.
I must cast my lot
I must cast my lot
with those who, age after age,
with those who age
Age after age,
perversely, with no extraordinary powers,
perversely, with no extraordinary powers,
reconstitute the earth.
reconstitute the earth.
Thanks be for each of us.
Beautiful, Carol. Thank you. And may it be so. Yeah. Blessed be. And thank you, all of you, for showing up in the ways that you do and being present on this call. It means a lot. And it is doing something to strengthen the network that we are all a part of and to nourish the very process of reconstituting the earth that's part of that Adrienne Rich poem. Thank you, and be well. Bless you all.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you. Good
Bye.
night. Elders for
Thanks,
the
everybody. Blessings, miracles and blessings to everybody, and love.